Good evening, everyone, and good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the 53rd session, I would say, episode of Dhammapariyesanā series. As you can see, Dhammapariyesanā series has been revolving around uh, different aspects of academic subjects and non-academic subjects. Sometimes we actually been discussing on academic subjects on uh, different aspects, not only being academic, but yet we had actually some great senior scholars too. So in today's discussion, I would say interview, we're going to be looking at socially engaged Buddhism or engaged Buddhism in contemporary South Korea, which is a great subject, which I think that many of us have no, I would say, comprehensive understanding, in different levels. So we invited a scholar. She is Dr. Hyekyung Jee. She goes by an English name called Lucy. Lucy, I'm very happy to welcome you to this interview.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah. Thank you for having me here. Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
great.
great honor. Yeah. And
So
hello,
let me,
everyone.
yeah, let me paraphrase Dr. Hyekyung Jee's bio a little bit. Uh, Dr. G is a researcher in the K Academic Expansion Center of So-Gyong-Kwang University, Seoul. She's actually a researcher in that university, South Korea, and teaches introductory courses on Korean culture, uh, Buddhism, and philosophy at Kyunghee University uh, in a college called Humanities. And I found that she was teaching. She was teaching a course in English, Quest for Human Values. Probably this is more applicable to Humanities College. And plus, she has been actually teaching in many places on different levels, including the Department of Religious Studies at University of Virginia and Gachon University, Seoul Life Learning Center, Gangang University, not the Gangang style, Sangyang University, and many other universities to name. So, apart from her teaching career, I wanted to look at her research interests. Her research interests include Buddhism in East Asia, modern Korean Buddhism, engaged Buddhism, which is another synonym for today's topic, socially engaged Buddhism, and Buddhism as a therapeutic philosophy. I guess this is about psychotherapy or psychological
Yeah.
aspects of Buddhism. And she published many articles, I think, book reviews, book chapters, dictionary, encyclopedia entries as well. Among her publications, we can see this publication in English, Application of Zen Rhetoric to Daily Issues, the case of conversation with Venerable Pom Nyun, a great master who, innovated a lot of things about socially engaged Buddhism in South Korea, and more articles in Korean regarding her subject of interest. She also contributed to an entry to the Willie Blackwell Encyclopedia of Philosophy of Religion titled Korea Buddhist Philosophy. Dr. G is currently focusing her research on Mingjung Buddhism, a form of engaged Buddhism practiced in Korea. So, and looking at her studies and after her PhD from Yonsei University, she proceeded to Dongguk University at Academy of Buddhist Studies, Seoul, from 2009 to 2011 for a postdoc. And she did her postdoc at the university. And yeah, so she has extensive knowledge about this subject, socially engaged Buddhism. And in particular, she's still working on different masters and different other aspects of the subject. Dhamma folks, uh, please join me in welcoming Dr. G to the conversation. Dr. G, let's take a look at the background of this subject because I wanted to see what we can actually learn through this particular subject, because we actually noted in our introduction, in our post, we're going to be looking at the distinctiveness and new directions of socially engaged Buddhism in contemporary South Korea. Although a lot of people, think that the, 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 the common Asian Buddhism in Asia is only focus on meditation, serious meditation in XYZ countries. But the works of socially engaged Buddhism, through the hands of many masters and many other activists, have taken Buddhism to a wholly new level. This is not a new thing. As we see, engaged Buddhism or socially engaged Buddhism refers to a Buddhist social movement that emerged in Asia in the 20th century. It's not kind of a very recent one. It was actually happening for a long time. And I think those people who started this in different ways, they actually started this movement to find out ways to apply Buddhist ethics, and also the experiences that they acquired through meditation, um, and the teachings of the Buddhist Dharma, to the contemporary social, environmental, uh, and whole bunch of other issues. And they were more focused on social suffering. Now, this is, of course, the fundamental thing of Mahayana. Uh, so, let's start our conversation from that point. So, I wanted to ask the first question this way: what is socially engaged Buddhism, or engaged Buddhism in its simplest form? How do you view socially engaged Buddhism?
Yeah, it's a Buddhist movement to reduce social suffering based on Buddhist teachings. So they use Buddhist worldview, especially interconnected worldview, karma theory, and and also compassion and other ethical teachings. And also the engaged Buddhism has two aspects. One is just helping people who are in need. So they offer medical or education service to them. And the second aspect is a little different. So it's it's a kind of making a better society. So they fight against the social structure and reform society. So their activities is related to human rights, freedom, equality, and also peace movement.
So, during 1960s, the
Mhm.
terms socially engaged Buddhism or engaged Buddhism has taken to a new route. That route is that, this particular kind of aspect of Buddhism, socially engaged
Mhm.
Buddhism, was taken up by loosely connected networks of Buddhists in Asia towards finding better solutions to political activism, probably.
Yes.
How can we be better Buddhist in a
Mhm.
Buddhist country using socially engaged Buddhism? So find
Mhm.
out better treatment, better solutions. Like,
Mhm.
as you can see, while someone who was actually born and raised in Sri Lanka, I could actually understand people are always looking at how can we develop the country's good governance through the Buddhist fundamentals. I mean, it's not so much into socially engaged Buddhism, but I mean, people like looking at, I would say, the polity, the governance. I
Mhm.
would say, all these concepts through a Buddhist aspect, like democracy, whatever. So, how would you see this shift from, uh, you know, starting having to see that socially engaged Buddhism as a movement to solve the social suffering, and then has been coming into the political activism and countries bigger aspects. I mean, by different masters and other people. This shift.
Yeah, the shift happened by Thich Nhat Hanh, the last Thich Nhat Hanh. And then I think our human condition, his condition was, he was in the Vietnam War situation. He had to confront it. So he wanted to save other people from the war suffering. So he, actively engaged the anti-war movement and then tried to save refugees. Yeah, but the war just started from there. But actually, in Korea, uh, uh, we had frontiers for that kind of socially engaged Buddhism in 1919 when Korea was occupied by Japan. That means Korean people lost their country. That means they are unhappy. So those two Buddhists, there are many monks joined there, and later people also joined it. But there are two representative figures. They are Han Yong-un and Bae Yong-sung. So they joined the famous independent movement, March 1st movement in Korea. And then after that, they supported independent activists. And then they also fight against the Japanese government in their way, not just physical fighting. Especially Han Yong wrote a special poem, criticize Japanese government's occupation, not direct way, but indirect way. So there was many. I think not just Korean case, but others similar. But we can notice that shift because the Thich Nhat Hanh used the term engaged Buddhism, and he shows the distinction of the socially engaged Buddhism.
Okay, so now we sort of understood what socially engaged Buddhism is, or what engaged Buddhism is, in its simple format. Now let's turn towards Korean Buddhism, because Korean Buddhism is what supposed to have come out of this thing called socially engaged Buddhism, especially in South Korea. But when we talk about socially engaged Buddhism in contemporary South Korea, probably we have to look at the history of Korean Buddhism. And Korean history didn't start from South Korea. I mean, it's kind of a wider geographical area that we can see in Korean Peninsula. So looking at the Korean Buddhist history, we can understand that Buddhism came to Korea, whatever the Buddhism came to Korea, in the 3rd century during the Three Kingdoms periods. And so we have three kind of chronological dates for the origins of Korean Buddhism. One in 372 CE, Christian era. The other one is 528 CE era, and then 552 CE at different locations. And I wanted to know actually how this happened, and it is said that this particular Buddhism went to Japan after that, and then it's kind of a huge shift actually. That is one aspect that I want you to explain to us. And on the other hand, about the kind of teachings that were started. But I think I will ask that later, because I wanted to make it a little bit simple. So what do you have to say about the origin of Korean Buddhism, how it came down to Korea, and how it was originated at three places at different times?
Yeah, so at that time there was 3 kingdoms in Korean Peninsula. In northern part, there was Goguryeo. It's close to China. So Korea accepted Buddhism from China. Qin dynasty, the king of Qin dynasty sent Buddhist monk and scriptures to Goguryeo as an envoy. So that is the first transmission, happened 372. And the second transmission is to Baekje. Baekje is the country located in southwestern part of Korea. And then it's close to China through China, and the Baekje has some kind of ocean. It's a short one, so they can cross. So the Indian, in this case, the Indian monk Maranatha came to Baekje through China, Eastern Qin. And then Shilla is eastern southeastern area of Korean Peninsula. So it's not, so Goguryeo and Baekje blocked the route from China. So it accepted Buddhism from Goguryeo in 500 at that time. It's actually legendary. And then when they revive Buddhism in Bopung, King Bopung period, it's the 6th century, they also accepted the Baekje Buddhism too. So, and then Baekje transmitted Buddhism to Japan in 552 because Baekje has a very close relationship to Japan. Yeah. And then Japan, Buddhism is advanced culture. So the advanced culture is from India, China, Korea, and Japan. That kind of transmission happened.
I thought Buddhism went to Japan from China, but I think it's a different case.
Oh, well.
I mean, for those folks who might not know here.
No. See, after, during Tang Dynasty, yeah, Japan start to accept Buddhist schools teaching directly from China. So Japanese monks went to China during Tang Dynasty. It's later. But first transmission happened by Baekje monks. And also Goguryeo Shinla monks went to Japan. Yeah, and one of Goguryeo monk, he drew picture really well. So he transmitted the drawing method to Japanese people.
Great, yeah. Let's look at the teachings that came with this starting of Buddhism in Korea. Now, if you look at the Son lineage, I think this is none other than Zen tradition, which we understand. In other words, Son lineage, where we see other sects where we understand by Joge and Tego traditions. And so that is one part to we want to actually touch upon this Son lineage. On the other hand, let's talk about Chonte or Tendai lineage that we can see by Jingak order. This is kind of modern esoteric Buddhism in South Korea. So what do you have to say about these two aspects? Son lineage, where we can see Joge and Tego traditions, and Chonte lineage, where we can see Jingak order, the modern esoteric Korean Buddhism. And how do we see these two in contemporary South Korean Buddhism? And then we will talk about the rest.
Yeah, Joge and Tego order is more traditional Buddhism. Yeah, most Buddhist teachings transmitted to Korea in United Silla period is 11th and I think 10th century, and Son came to that time, and among many Buddhist schools, Hwayen school and then Son lineage left. It became a dominant sect in Korea. Well, there were other esoteric schools there, many, but those two are dominant sect. And then through Goryeo dynasty and then Joseon dynasty, they unified together because Hwam teaching is more focused on theory. And then Son teaching, Zen teaching is more focused on practice. And then Hwam's teaching, theory can support the Son teaching's practice. So Jinul, the monk Jinul, made that kind of unification. Yeah. And then during Joseon dynasty, just before modern times, Joseon dynasty didn't take care of the Buddhist lineage because they suppressed the Buddhism. So it's just remained as a religion form, but it's not taken care by government. So it naturally just combined to one lineage. That's Son. Yeah. So Korean Son Buddhism actually have many aspects of the many schools. Yeah.
Give us a clear explanation about what these two actually are. What do you say is that these two? Sorry.
Hwaom. Korean pronunciation, 화엄종. Actually, it's Chinese Buddhist school, Hwayan.
Okay.
So this school teaching based on the garland flower struck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So give us a clear explanation about these two. I mean, Son lineage and Chante lineage. I mean, what do you say is that even today, Korean people practice these two, right? They practice
나는
both
예,
Yoge Tego as well as Jingak, sect. There are different devotees for all these traditions. And what are the basic differences between Son tradition and Jingak? I would say Chante. What are the basic things? Are they all Mahayana, or how do they? What are the main distinguishing things between those two?
they are Mahayana. All are Mahayana. Mahayana. And then Son and Taego is the traditional Buddhism from their lineage up to the Goryeo dynasty. But the Chante lineage and Chante order and the Jingak order is newly kind of revived. Yeah, the 1967, the monk Sangwol established Chante lineage, and then he made a connection to the previous Chante founder, Uchon. He was a monk in Goryeo dynasty. But there is no direct connection with Uchon and him. It's kind of a new form of Buddhism in modern times. And also, Jinga is established by Hwedang in 1947. So Korean Buddhism has established Buddhism in Goryeo dynasty, but there was no connection. So it's just a different form of Buddhism.
Dhamma folks, I'm talking to Dr. Hyekyung Jee. She goes by Lucy as well. She's a lecturer at Gyeonggi University and the Humanities College, and she's joining with me from South Korea at this point. Lucy, let's get into socially engaged Buddhism in South Korea. Now, this is kind of a very, interesting, turning point in our conversation. Now, although we understand that socially engaged Buddhism was emerged in 20th century, and then there were some political elements that came in by 1960. How do you see the origin of socially engaged Buddhism in South Korea? How was it started? And you don't need to mention about everything about different people, but what can we see as an introduction to, especially the origins of socially engaged Buddhism in South Korea, or maybe Korea or South Korea?
Yeah, in this case, we can say it's South Korea. So the origin would be Minjung Buddhism in 1970 and 80. But Minjung Buddhists tried to find the elements of socially engaged Buddhism in history. So when we follow their research, we can go up to Wonyo in Silla dynasty. Yeah, so Wonyo actually tried to transmit Buddhism to everybody. So he kind of gave up his high elite position and became a normal person. And then ask people chanting Namu Amitabha for their salvation. Yeah, he just wandering around hitting balls and singing that thing. Yeah, for the people. So Minjung Buddhists think that he is the origin because he care about the Minjung people and then try to help their salvation. But that's their research and their history. But I think the origin of socially engaged Buddhism that we think it's Minjung Buddhism.
Okay, so as you said that this was between 1970s and 1980s, and there was a monk called Venerable Pom Nyung.
He was also Minjung Buddhist activist later.
But basically it is the start of Minjung Buddhism, which emerged as what we understand by socially engaged Buddhism in South Korea. Okay, so let's get into different, activist masters and organizations that are actually, working towards the promotion of socially engaged Buddhism in
Mhm.
South Korea. Now, as we can see, Joge Order is one of the very famous organizations in
Mhm.
South Korea. As we can see that one of the monks, the 31st president of Jogi order, Venerable Pop Jung, and he
Mhm.
stressed the importance of the role of Buddhism, which can play in environment and reunification of the nation, human rights and welfare. I think there are a lot of other people behind, Pop Jung order. Let's talk about one by one so people will understand better. So let's talk about what's the contribution of Joge order to socially engaged Buddhism, and then I will move on to the next one.
So before 법장, the monk 법장, Joge order did not care about socially engaged Buddhism. So each monks just to do some social works and then do their socially engaged activities. But 법장, he was also he did a campaign for what's the organ donation movement. So he embraced the socially engaged Buddhism in Joge order system. He tried to make Joge order go different direction. So he think that we have to participate to social activities more than before. Yeah, we have to change our direction. He is the person who changed the direction.
All right. Let's move on to the next main
Mhm.
activist organization. This is very famous, One Buddhism movement in South
Mhm.
Korea. One Buddhism has been a very famous kind of South Korean Buddhism in across North America and the Europe
Yeah,
as well,
yes.
started by a monk called Sote-san. And as you said in our casual conversation, and he seems to have attained Nibbana or whatever enlightenment. But
Mhm.
they have been different in their perspective, as you said. You can actually say something about it. So
Mhm.
fundamentally, they reject religious exclusivism in favor of compassionate moral practice
Mhm.
in daily life and engagement in activities of interreligious cooperation, contributing to a more united humankind, to
Mhm.
seek the happiness of the world, to help out numerous kindergarten schools, universities, and to specifically focus on social suffering. I mean, they wanted to help out, alleviate social suffering. And I think they have monks, nuns, and this was kind of like a very big topic in our conversation. So, what is the contribution of Won Buddhism, which was started by Master Sote-san, to South Korea and to the rest of the world?
Won Buddhism, yeah, their teaching is based on Buddhism. That's true. But they are not belong to Buddhist order association because they think the founder of Won Buddhism is Sotaesan. But Buddhists believe that the founder of Buddhism is Shakyamuni Buddha. So it's a little different. But the Sotaesan is, we can say, what was that? I wrote the practical Tekka Buddhist Buddha. That means he can attain enlightenment independently by himself without teacher, without Buddhist teacher, any teacher. So yeah, but his way of attaining enlightenment is it's just exactly like Buddha's way. So his teaching is based on Buddhism. And then he also think his teaching is Buddhism. That's the reason the name is One Buddhism. And then he proposed the reformation of Buddhism, and he suggested Buddhism should be popularized. Buddhism go to the normal people more closely. So that's the reason he asked place their temple in the city. And then also not use Buddha statue. It's expensive. So they wrote a round one. So, and then they can easily pray to Buddha. So it's the symbol of Buddha. So their contribution is, kind of give people's attention to Buddhism should be changed to embrace more common people. That's a good thing.
Don't you think that the basic idea behind the origin of one Buddhism is something that we all have to embrace in different ways? Because, as you can see, I'm not actually trying to frown upon any other traditions like Theravada tradition. In Theravada, we always wanted to promote the idea called we need to attain Nibbana. Sansara is such a very a directionless journey, and we never know where we're gonna be reborn after that. So this I would say uncertainty has caused monks, nuns, and followers to always promote something that is a little bit individualistic, not like as a society. Society is a part of this sansaric suffering, in their understanding. But going beyond these, ideas. Of course, we have to practice meditation, sila, virtues, and I would say concentration. But we also have to develop altruism. I would say think about other people, right? If we don't think about other people, especially in our Shakyamuni Buddha's case, if he did not think about other people at a time he was able to attain nibbana in a previous life, then we would have not received these teachings. So he thought about other people. This idea, although it was actually highly developed by whatever the cause in Mahayana, I think a great understanding of altruism is something that is really needed to all traditions, regardless of the text. So I think the main idea of one Buddhism, that we need to go beyond the text and then see the suffering of other people, will help this whole world a better place. That is something good. But there are some issues how different traditions, especially one Buddhism, may operate in today's world. As you can see that when somebody is starting this kind of thing, people might think that, oh, she is the founder of the whole Buddhism. Something like that can happen, right? So anyways, that is about one Buddhism, and it has been a fundamental instrument of organization about socially engaged Buddhism. Let's turn to another society, I would say John Tu Society, started by Venerable Pong Nyu, and you wrote an article about him recently, I think to the journal Contemporary Buddhism. Is it that?
Yeah, Journal Contemporary Buddhism.
Yeah, so Dr. G wrote an article to Contemporary Buddhism about this particular master, and he is somebody who was very pioneering, John Tu Society. In John Society, we can see something really different than other societies. They have this huge concern about resettlement of refugees, I guess, from other parts of Korea.
Yeah, North Korea.
So North Korean refugees being resettled in South Korean, areas. So this was actually one of the very focal points of Jones Society, and also they were, I guess, providing, and they are providing medical aid and supplementary for poor countries, third world countries as well. So, what do you think about the contribution of John to society, which was started by Venerable Hong Myung, to socially engaged Buddhism? I think you have a lot to share with us because you wrote an article too. Insights.
Actually, I liked his conversation and lecture, so that's the reason I picked him as my research subject. So Jongtu Society is it's the representative organization on socially engaged Buddhism in Korea. Yeah. So he was a former Minjung Buddhist activist, and then after Korea attained democracy. So in the Minjung Buddhist fight for democratization and then unification and then liberation of workers in Korea. And then he was part of that. And then once they achieved the democracy, real democracy, and then he had a meeting with his colleagues and then looked up the problems of our society and our time. So he found the four problems for our time. This first one is environmental problem, and then also division of Korea, and then the third one is global poverty, and the fourth one is individuals' unhappiness. So he decided to fix those things and then establish Cheongto Society. And then based on his idea, he expanded his organization. So for help to poor people, global poverty, he established the JTS, Join Together Society. So they also established the school in India, Dungesgera, and taught and teaches untouchable people since 1994. Yeah, and then also for division of Korea, he established the foundation of a Peace Foundation, and then he recruited the people who devote their life for the unification Korea. And also for the what was that? I forgot. The good friend. It's for the good friends work for human rights, the refugee issue, and others. So the North Korean refugees and help North Korea thing, they do those workers. And then for the individual's happiness, he decided to give preaching, but it's not one-sided preaching. It's a dialogue. So he got a question from someone, and then he gives some insightful answer to the person based on Buddhist teaching. That's what I wrote. What kind of Buddhist philosophy or rhetoric he used in his dialogue. Anyway, so
Go ahead.
Yeah, so now his popularity is not so high, but in 2012, he was very popular, very famous person. He's famous very high. Yeah. And so at that time, he gave 300 lectures, conversation a year. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so people just ask their daily problems. I want to divorce the person. Well, yeah, that kind of person. My boyfriend cheated on me, and I lost my job. Then he gave some insightful, answer.
He's more like a very practical.
Very practical.
Especially, he's very practical in answering to those questions that many of individuals are facing in today's world, right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Yeah. So let's see. Let's turn on to the fundamentals of socially engaged Buddhism. Now, how would you characterize non-violence? Now, I think non-violence is one of the very, higher fundamentals in Buddhism. We are not supposed to hurt anyone, right? Even with a thought. Peace movements and other, I would say, you might probably share with us other main fundamentals of what you would understand by, socially engaged Buddhism. What are the main fundamentals or basic or higher teachings of socially engaged Buddhist associations, masters that they have, relied on doing their services? So how would you characterize, especially non-violence and peace, in addition to these things, you might probably say, harmony, well-being of environment, animals, many other things. How would you characterize these important virtues in this socially engaged Buddhism, aspect?
So, for Korean socially engaged Buddhist, peace movement is very crucial because we are in war still. We and North Korea just paused the war, not ended the war. So yeah, it's very crucial in Korea, and non-violence is based on Buddhist teaching. Yeah, you should not kill anything. Yeah, no killing. No killing means not just killing; it's not hurting others. So non-violence is very important in Buddhist social engaged Buddhism. But in Minjung Buddhism, Buddhist activity, at that time, the Korean government was a dictatorship government. So when people go demonstration, it was harshly suppressed. So they feel, Minjung Buddhists also felt that we need some violence to protect ourselves. So they raised that issue. We should use violence. But they couldn't find any support from Buddhism, so they gave up. So nonviolence is still important in Korean socially Buddhism, in the socially engaged Buddhism. Yeah.
Okay. Can you also share with us some of the important initiatives taken by uh, Buddhist Academy for Ecological Awakening, like Zero Waste Campaign? I mean, I don't think that a lot of Buddhist
Mm.
countries are using the Buddhist fundamentals. I mean, we know that we don't need to, always depend on religious teachings to develop a country. But, as they wanted to stand up for whatever they believe, I don't see that most of them try to incorporate the Buddhist fundamentals about these subjects like ecology, environment, and all that. So, what
Mm.
are the initiatives that have been uh, taken by, I would say, Buddhist Academy for Ecological Awakening towards the betterment, development of country's environment, especially in your country's environment? Especially,
Ah,
you can actually sort of spotlight some of the things like zero waste campaign. What does it mean?
yes,
What they have
zero
been
waste
able to
means
do?
no waste. Actually, the zero waste campaign imported that one to Korea. I'm not sure if it's imported or they created. It's by the monk Bomyun, the Jongto Society. So I've heard that they cannot have ramen or snacks, which has plastic package because the package is so big and a lot of waste come out. So they cannot have ramen or snack in their center. It's forbidden. And then also zero waste, people don't use the plastic cup, not plastic cup, the one time use cup. Yeah, they use tumbler usually. Yeah, that kind of movement. So less waste we have to make. So I've heard that the 10 people work at Jongto Center, and then just a small amount of waste to come out a month. I've heard I was very surprised and impressed by it because we cannot handle our trashes waste well. It's too much, and then it's hurt Earth. Then we have to leave this planet. We cannot live here, so we have to practice that. I think that's really good.
So we must understand the recycling process, including everything, right? We are getting recycled. Like once
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah,
die, our
yeah.
breath goes back into the air. Our
Hmm.
bodily parts get recycled into the four elements like Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, right? So if that
Hmm.
is the case, I mean that's a kind of a fundamental Abhidhamma kind of teaching, right?
Oh,
especially
yeah, right, yeah.
it's about the rupa, the material phenomena. So if
Mm.
that is the case, then we should be able to incorporate such a teaching into a practical movement like zero waste, you know, uh, zero waste campaign, right? That's a very
Yes,
good
yeah.
initiative. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, great.
Yeah.
So okay, so now let's talk about something very interesting as well. Now this is something where people get stuck, where people get prevented by different norms. How do you view the socially engaged Buddhism in comparison to the meditative aspect? Now, a lot of people think in some other traditions, I'm not saying XYZ, meditation only is the thing. I only want to cross the samsara. I only want to attain nibbana. And
Hmm.
I'm not concerned about social suffering. I'm not concerned about other people. I only
Hmm.
want to attain nibbana. So this notion and the notions that socially engaged Buddhist
Hmm.
activists are espousing. They are two different moods, two different routes. So
Hmm.
uh, why are some groups thinking that we don't want to engage in social services, I would social suffering kind of thing, alleviating stuff, and why there are people who think that they also want to meditate
Hmm.
as well as going a step further, want to do service, want to help out those who are poor, those who don't have enough food, those who are not
Hmm.
able to afford medication, shelter. Why? I mean, why this basic difference in thoughts? That's one question. The other thing is that, what do you think about how should a Buddhist in 21st century now, in today's 2022, January 29 is today's date. How does a Buddhist in this 21st century can think about these both sides, rather going beyond traditions, history of Buddhism, or branches of Buddhism? How can someone practice Buddhism uh, in both meditation as well as social service? Are they equally important? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think they are both equally important based on Mahayana teaching. In Mahayana teaching, it says that first you attain enlightenment, and also at the same time you have to save others, other people too. You help others' salvation. That's Mahayana's idea. So if you are in Mahayana tradition, I think keep both practice is important. Uh, but traditional Korean Zen Buddhism didn't do in 1980s and before. So Minjung Buddhists actually criticized that, and then they leaned to the socially engaged Buddhism too much. Then they didn't do meditate, and then they realized when they met limit and some kind of limit, and sometimes they are ego-adjusted, and there is no way to solve that one. And then after it changed to more popular form, socially engaged Buddhism in after Korean democratization in 1987, the Jeongto Society actually combined them together. So if you are a member of Jeongto Society, you start your day from Buddhist ritual and meditation. So you do 108 prostration and then read a Buddhist short scripture and meditate. And then you start your social engaged activities. Yeah. So I think that they do quite a nice job. And then when you do it together, you also can have a sense of the society. When you meet someone and then it stimulates you. During practice by yourself, you don't have a chance to get angry. But you can test it when you meet someone. Yeah. So that kind of sense it can give to us. And also, yeah, the meditating, always, then you can calm yourself and then reflect yourself. So I think you need to do both. So yeah, I think, yeah, so in Korea we said it's it says that lotus flower is bloomed in a mud lake. So that is the beautiful one. I think that's the idea of Mahayana Buddhist.
Great. Adding on to that beautiful explanation that we need the both, I wanted to mention in one of the suttas in Theravada Pali Canon, Buddha says that
Mm-hmm.
there are four people in this society, in this world, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to liberation and altruism. There's one person who is always selfish, who does
Mm-hmm.
not think about other people. So he's a selfish guy, like doesn't concern about anything. So he's
Mm-hmm.
going on his or her way about liberation or whatever other things. The second person is always altruistic,
Mm-hmm.
overly altruistic. Other people misuse that person, so we call the people who actually misuse somebody who is too altruistic
Mm-hmm.
and as an energy vampire. They are
Mm-hmm.
vampires,
Yeah, right, yeah.
sucking the blood of other people. They are sucking the energy of other people. So those of
Oh.
them who misuse somebody who is overly altruistic is called an energy vampire. But anyways, the first person is overly selfish. Second one is overly altruistic. Buddha
Mm-hmm.
didn't recommend these two. And there is a person who is both not selfish, I would say, both concerned about oneself,
Mm-hmm.
well-being of oneself, and the liberation, nibbana, plus thoughtful, concern about other folks too.
Mm-hmm.
This is the third person. The fourth person is neither concerned about oneself nor the other.
Uh-huh.
So Buddha denied the first,
Mm-hmm.
second, and the fourth categories. So
Mm-hmm.
we would always encourage that we need to concern us and also the others. So if we do not balance out these two aspects, we are not growing in our spirituality. We are
Mm-hmm.
getting stagnated. We are always getting stuck,
Mm-hmm.
stagnated. Either we are very selfish, either we are very altruist, which might not help us.
Mm-hmm.
So we need the both.
Yeah, yeah.
Finally, I wanted to ask you, Lucy, what do you think about the future of socially engaged? But as you said to me in our casual conversation, it's
Mm-hmm.
always progressing every day. They are reaching out to different countries, different societies where they need help. As you can see that in our topic, we were talking about what are the new directions of socially engaged Buddhism. Compared to 20th century and 1960s, and especially in Korea from 70s to 80s. Definitely there should be there should have uh, started come out some new directions of where they are heading out, where they are actually looking at to promote their outreach. So what are the uh, new directions? So what is the future of socially engaged Buddhism with new directions, especially in contemporary South Korea at this point?
I'm not sure about new direction, but they will keep doing their work until they establish a pure land in this in here and now. Yeah, so pure land for them is individuals are happy, and also yeah, social structure make the social structure that makes people suffering would be revised. Until then they will do yeah same things, or they will develop new direction. Actually, I'm joining the what's that Buddhist lay people association on social justice and peace. They were discussing how to establish a new theory for our movement. Yeah. So after they do that, then they will make a new direction. But but before that, we will do same things. And then I think a Buddhist worldview on interconnected world, yeah, that would help us to overcome our problems in this time.
So as you said that what they are doing is they are just continuing what they've been
Yeah,
doing, right?
continuing. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't
continuing
you think
until.
that they are?
Mm,
Don't you think that they are adding new things to sort of accelerate, sort of like uh, you know do more things to the needy, especially during the COVID time, pandemic time. Probably they may
ah,
have taken different
mhm,
initiatives to help out
Mm.
others. Any
Mm.
thoughts about it?
So during the COVID time, Chengtu Society start to use Zoom to meet other people. They want to keep the connection with others and use new technology. And people start to think about the problem of hatred in this world. So they will find another work for that too. That's what I thought. Yeah.
And also, you said that there is this notion of developing pure land. I mean, of course, this is a Mahayana tradition,
Mm-hmm.
Mahayana-based organization, so they are actually working on their uh, basic, religious
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist fundamentals. But of course, we want to. We I think we obliged to. We need to appreciate what they are doing, because this is something that we all need. I mean, how they, regardless of how they operate, uh, we all need to improve the social aspect, because in today's world, uh, most of the young people, they are working towards humanitarian stuff, so they
Mm-hmm.
might not be able to listen to a 1 hour Dhamma talk. They say it's very
Yeah.
boring, we don't need to listen to, because we don't think about liberation, that kind of stuff, at this time. So we wanted to help out other people. So this is a wonderful addition that we can bring out, or we can add to
Mm-hmm.
existing different Buddhist traditions. So there are opportunities, space for young people to mingle, I would say, mix up, and then connect. So that's why I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, especially, I'm not talking about South Korea, I'm talking about other countries, especially some Theravada countries. If we can focus on more humanitarian stuff, it's like this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
kids don't listen to a Dhamma talk, but kids like hearing stories,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's true.
then
Yeah.
parents have to
Mm-hmm.
tell a story. Then they listen
Uh-huh.
to that story, and then they will learn the moral of the story. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to give the same story in a Dhamma talk, they won't listen to,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like you giving a medication, kind of a very
Uh-huh.
sour medication, to someone with some sugar, right?
Yeah.
So the patient will take it if it is
Mm-hmm.
necessary. So I'm trying to think that some of the ignored parts of reach out of
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist societies across the world, they can definitely look at this humanitarian, this social suffering subject, so that they can attract more people. They can attract,
Mm-hmm.
not just to attract, get people. I'm thinking they can involve, they can engage in a better,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, reach out, if they can develop, these aspects, especially alleviate social suffering by ways of helping them. Also concerned about this wonderful, very controversial subject, environment, right? Couple years ago, we know that some countries stopped funding these big organizations about environment, but Buddha has repeatedly mentioned about environments. Vanang chindatamarukkam, right? Cut your forest of defilements, but not the real trees. This is one of the statesmen in Dhammapada, right? Cut the
Uh-huh.
forest of uh, defilement. So defilements represent trees, mental trees, negative trees,
Mm-hmm.
but do not touch real trees. Very compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have to bring these teachings to the modern society, contemporary society, so that people will understand Buddhism with a more healthy, more uh, helpful, beneficial teaching. So I think that's very important. So now we understand that we need this socially engaged Buddhism a lot, uh,
Mm-hmm.
to all the other forms of Buddhism. Now we learn from you about how this is happening in South Korea, from 70s up until now. Dhamma folks, today we've been discussing about socially engaged Buddhism, and especially in contemporary South Korea. And joined with me was Dr. G, and she goes by Lucy as well, Dr. Hyekyung Jee. And I wanted to ask Dr. G, if I before I move on to thank everybody who watched this, do you have anything to add to this conversation, just to conclude? Anything you think that you may have missed out on?
Yeah, I was thinking about saying that I feel socially engaged Buddhism is a way to complete the mindfulness practice, because the saving others has equal value with the personal enlightenment in mindfulness Buddhism. But after I talked with Chandima, the monk Chandima, I felt, it's not just Mahayana one, it's also all Buddhism one. And then you also pointed it's very important. So, yeah, thank you. You already said, yeah.
Dhamma folks, uh, Dr. Lucy's first maiden interview was this, and this is the first live interview, and I'm actually thankful to Dr. Lucy for coming up this way and then accepting my invitation. I thought that you could especially add to our audience. I mean, especially these insights which we uh, read sometimes, for those folks who might not even read. So then, this is very wonderful, and you added a lot of good things. Thank you, Dr. Lucy, and thank you, our uh, audience who actually watch and who've been still watching with us this whole episode, to learn about how this the socially engaged Buddhism operates, has been operating in South Korea. And you may also be wondering about how the same socially engaged Buddhism has been operating in other Buddhist countries too. I mean, we
Yeah.
will be looking at all that in the future. Now, folks, we have another interview coming up with a professor in Sri Lanka, Professor Madegama, who's going to talk about different issues about translations about Buddhist texts, and we'll be coming up with that in a couple of weeks. Until till then, have a safe time. Take care. Have a good night. Have a good morning to all folks who joined from Canada and the US. Thank you, Dr. Lucy, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.